There has never been a Metal Gear game with such depth to its gameplay or so much volume in content. When it comes to storytelling, there has never been a game in the series that's so consistent in tone, daring in subject matter, and so captivating in its presentation. The Phantom Pain may be a contender for one of the best action games ever made. It is undoubtedly the best Metal Gear game there is. For more details on what you can find in the Phantom Pain and how I feel about them, check out the full written review on GameSpot.com.
It'd be a shame to waste him, but I'll leave the method up to you, boss.
Certainly been sandbox action games with bigger worlds to roam or more little icons to chase on my mini-map, but none of them have pushed me to plan, adapt, and improvise the way this one does. Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain doesn't just respect my intelligence as a player, it expects it of me, putting it in a league that few others occupy. For much, much more on Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, keep it right here on IGN.
Metal Gear Solid The Phantom Pain was, of course, made by Hideo Kojima, the man who's been the creative force behind all 11 Metal Gears since 1987. His original dream was to create an open-world Metal Gear game. However, he was held back by technology and hardware.
Create a piece of art, you first image it in your head. And that original image popped into my head 25 years ago. And for 25 years I've been trying to recreate that image in the form of a game.
Now, as you can see from how he describes himself, Kojima is best looked at as an artist, something that is apparent in the attention to detail shown in The Phantom Pain. This may also explain his many conflicts with publisher Konami. In March 2015, Konami actually parted ways with Hideo Kojima and his studio Kojima Productions. As a perfectionist, he'd insisted they build their own game engine called Fox, a major undertaking. Ultimately, over $80 million was spent on development over the course of more than 3 years. This meant that Konami needed to sell 5 to 6 million copies just to break even. To put this in context, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, which was also very highly acclaimed, sold 6 million copies during the entirety of its product lifespan. Supporting Kojima's ambitions for Metal Gear Solid The Phantom Pain, therefore, involved a very major risk for the publisher, a failure that might have meant bankruptcy. So who is this man, this artist, and why has he been so successful and so controversial? Hideo Kojima was born on August 24, 1963 in Tokyo. His family moved around often, and Kojima had to deal with death early on in his life as his father passed away when he was just 13. He grew up as a latchkey kid and would often come home to an empty house and watch TV. From an early age, he knew that he wanted to be a writer and illustrator, but faced a lot of pressure to seek out a safer and more financially stable line of work. This was Japan, after all. Despite discouragement from his family and peers, as a teen he wrote and illustrated short stories and sent them to magazines, although none of them ever got published. Most of them were seen as too long. While attending college and studying economics, Kojima spent a lot of his free time playing video games, which at the time was a new medium and it hadn't been explored all that much. Kojima's early career was marked by a lot of rejection, and his video game ideas failed to gain any traction with publishers. However, in 1986 he was hired by Konami to work in their MSX home computer division as a designer and planner. The assignment was a disappointment to the creative and imaginative Kojima, who had hoped to work on the more colourful Nintendo system. Many of Kojima's early ideas were refused, but he got his big breakthrough when he was asked to take over a project called Metal Gear. So why has Kojima been so successful? Most importantly, he has a highly unique view of video games, and it's this that's meant he has been able to revolutionize the action genre, putting other games to shame. He believes that games are a storytelling medium, but that they shouldn't be linear with endless cutscenes. He believes games can be so much more than the bland, out-of-the-box series like so many of the ones that we see today. He thinks they can be as good as movies, but using a player-controlled experience that only games can give.
Well, Kojima's work is entirely visionary in that he doesn't follow the rules of what video games are supposed to be. And when he takes a game and turns it into a so-called cinematic experience, he doesn't turn it into what he thinks a movie should be either. I think he creates a perfect sort of hybrid.
It was basically the movie-like presentation of Metal Gear Solid that really took people aback. When you first turned on the game, and it looked like the intro to a movie, and he's swimming around and the credits are showing, and then he gets out, and all of a sudden there's gameplay for a little bit, and you're introduced to the stealth element of it. You run into the elevator, and then as soon as you run in the elevator, the credits start rolling again, and he's pulling off his, sub gear and everything, and, chills are just going up and down your spine, and you're like, man, I'm ready to roll with this game.
Ultimately, Hideo Kojima was chasing a dream.
When I first came up with the idea for Metal Gear, people told me storytelling won't work in action games. So I set out to prove the world that action games could be a valid storytelling medium. This led me to craft Metal Gear Solid using storytelling tools like cinematic effects, cutscenes, radio calls, and stage gimmicks. In today's game industry, these types of linear storytelling methods have now become commonplace. However, that was never the ultimate goal. As an interactive medium, I believe games have the potential to break away from movies and convey a story while also giving players the freedom to play as they like. The advent of open-world game design allows for completely new forms of storytelling. In designing Metal Gear Solid 5, I wanted to maximize the player's sense of strategic freedom. As a result, the experience will vary depending on the tastes of each individual player. The impression will probably be quite different from previous Metal Gear Solid games. The biggest challenge was how to tell a story in a non-linear way, and our solution was to use a freely assembled episodic format. Like a TV drama, the story gradually comes together as the player proceeds through missions and gathers episodic pieces of the story.
He nearly didn't have the opportunity, as he was on his last chance when he conceived of Metal Gear Solid, following another project that Konami cancelled. However, the first title did well, and demand, especially from the US, guaranteed future titles. After a false start, where the studio released the game without Hideo involved, he came back with Metal Gear Solid in 1998, and that became the series we know and love today. However, this is the last. As far as Hideo is concerned, he's achieved his original vision, and it's time to put the series to rest.
I was shocked when I heard you say it's been 27 years since the first one. I always say this will be my last Metal Gear, but the games in the series that I've personally designed and produced, Metal Gear on MSX, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and Peace Walker, and now Metal Gear Solid 5 are what constitute a single Metal Gear saga. With Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm finally closing the loop on that saga. In that sense, this will be the final Metal Gear Solid. Even if the Metal Gear franchise continues, to me, this is the last Metal Gear.